Okay, everybody, welcome. This is Bisq's first USD Liquidity Week. It's a kickoff event. My name's Chris Beams. I'm a co-founder of Bisq, and I've got with me today Felix Moreno and Christoph Ateneda, other members of the Bisq team. And here's what we're going to do on this call. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes to an hour. We'll see how long it goes, doing basically two things. We're going to do a live BTC USD trade using Bisq, and we're going to use Square's Cash App as a payment method. So Felix is going to play the seller of Bitcoin. I'm going to play the buyer of Bitcoin. So I'm going to pay Felix some of my dollars and buy some of his Bitcoin. We're going to do that live on the Bisq P2P network using the Bisq client. You'll see all of that in a moment. And the second purpose of this call is, again, it's USD Liquidity Kickoff Week. So in a moment, Felix will talk more about what USD Liquidity Week is all about and what we're looking for with regards to participation from yourself or people you know, people who can be a market maker for a week. We'll get into all of that stuff. We'll go through the details. We'll talk about, we'll take your questions and so on. But that can come primarily after the demo. All right, so let's get right into it. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go through a few slides for people who haven't seen this before, who aren't familiar. It's really important to understand what the project is all about, what makes Bisq different, and what we're trying to accomplish with the project. So let's just quickly go back to the beginning here and talk about what is Bisq. Right? Bisq is first and foremost a decentralized Bitcoin exchange. You probably know that much if you're on this call already. But people may be coming to this call later that have never heard of Bisq. Maybe this will be some people's first introduction to Bisq. So that's why we're explaining this. Bisq is a decentralized Bitcoin exchange, but it's good to break that down a little bit. It's a peer-to-peer Bitcoin exchange. It's a desktop client, right? It's something that you download on your machine and you run like an old school app, right? How novel. It's a protocol that coordinates the exchange of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies for national currencies over the internet. It's a network, right? So Bisq is a fully distributed peer-to-peer network in much the same sense as you would think of BitTorrent's network or Bitcoin's network or the internet itself, right? Of course, Bisq isn't as big as any of those things, but it's designed in the same way with many of the same goals in mind. So Bisq is a desktop application, a trading protocol, and a peer-to-peer network. Also very important to mention is that Bisq is free software. Bisq is free and open source. It's AGPL, right? The GNU Public License version 3, that's as free and open as software gets, and every aspect of Bisq is open. So why does Bisq exist? Why did we begin building this network, this client, this application? Well, we began building it nearly 4 years ago now in the wake of the Mt. Gox failure, which many people will remember. And we built it to provide what was missing at the time, and in many ways is still missing in the ecosystem, which is a secure, private, and censorship-resistant way to exchange Bitcoin, like I said, for national currencies or other cryptocurrencies over the internet. This is important, right? When we talk about security, what we really mean is the safety of your funds. If anybody's been around this space, and many people on this call have been around this space for a long time, you know that hacks and thefts of Bitcoin exchanges are extremely common, right? This is just snapshots of some of the biggest ones. There's Mt. Gox, right? Everything from small dollar heists to hundreds of thousands, even hundreds of millions of dollars. And we don't ever have to look any further back than just a few months, right? We had the coin check hack in Japan just this last month, right? There's something going on all the time, it seems, and these things will continue. It's just too big of a temptation when we have funds pooled in these centralized exchanges. That's security. Right? Secure, private, censorship-resistant Bitcoin exchange is what Bisq is all about. That second aspect, privacy. When we talk about privacy, we're talking about, as a user, your control over your own information. So again, we don't have to look far at all to see privacy violations, privacy hacks all over the world, right? This is Equifax. Many people know this story. Literally half of all Americans got doxxed. Equifax stores people's credit rating information, social security information. It's a massive breach of data. Every single Yahoo account was hacked, literally billions of Yahoo accounts compromised in the news recently. Many of us on this call will know about the IRS, the John Doe summons against Coinbase, which they've now won. And Coinbase is releasing the documents and trading histories of 10, on the order of 14, 15,000 of their users. That's less than the literally millions that the IRS wanted, but still, right? This is what we face. This is what Bisq is designed to, to provide for people, is control over your own information so that you're not exposed, or at least much less exposed to these kinds of risks. When we talk about censorship resistance, we're talking about your ability to trade without interference from a third party. We see news like this again all the time. There seems to always be some piece of news that some country is censoring or shutting down or restricting or banning exchanges or Bitcoin or crypto altogether, or who knows what, right? So Bisq is designed, again, just like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is designed for censorship resistance. Bisq is designed in the same way. It's still much smaller. It's just growing up, right? But it has those same big goals in mind. All right, so enough with the slides. How Bisq works, what Bisq is all about. Let's just dive into a demo. So here we're looking at the Bisq client, and you can see down here it's version 0.6.6. We just shipped that release just a couple of days ago, in time indeed for this week, with a few new features that we'll be showing off along the way. And what we're going to do in this demo is we're going to, again, Felix is going to play the seller of Bitcoin. So in a moment, I'm going to hand it over to him, and he's going to place an offer using his Bisq client to sell some of his Bitcoin, and then I'm going to play the buyer. So let's do that. And maybe first, Felix, just before you dive into the demo, maybe you want to talk with people a little bit about what USD Liquidity Week is, why we're doing this, provide a little bit of context, and then we can jump into the demo.
Yeah, in very simple terms, bootstrapping a market is always a bit of a chicken and egg problem. And Bisq started from zero. So to get enough liquidity, to get enough orders on the offers on the order book for a first-time user to come and see that he can actually do something useful, buy or sell some Bitcoin, you need to bootstrap it. We tried this back in December with euros. We managed to get a few traders together to for a week keep some offers on the order book, and the result was quite good. We saw that the number of orders basically never went down from there. It was only for a week, but the number of new users it attracted apparently meant that we've seen growing and growing levels of use, of trades, of volume, but also of a more complete order book. We're going to try the same thing with dollars this week. Dollars was a bit more complicated because of the different payment methods, but basically all we are asking for anyone who's willing to participate in USD Liquidity Week is to keep a couple of orders open all week on the Bisq client. Just download your Bisq client and try to place an offer to buy or sell Bitcoin for dollars with your chosen payment method at your chosen price or distance from the market for a week. We hope that if we manage to get more than 10 offers on the order book for a whole week, this will attract new users. People will start doing testing, trying out the different payment methods, and eventually this will grow organically after this little kickstart. That's our hope. So we welcome anyone who wants to help to just do that. Just place a couple of orders, any amount you want, any price you want, just so people can see that there's activity. Right, so I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know when you can see it. Chris, can you see it?
Yes.
Right.
Hall of News.
Right, so here we go. So this is my Bisq client clean session, and the first thing I'm going to do is add a new payment method. I'm going to add Cash App. I'm just going to create a demo one. So as you can see, you can select a number of payment methods. This information is stored locally, okay? So only your trading partner and you will have access to it. There we go, Cash App. So I'm going to do Flix1, my Cash App user, and I'm going to call this Flix1 demo. That's it. That's all you need to do to create a payment method. As you can see, if I click on that, you can see that. And obviously, each payment method has different fields, but for Cash App, this is all you really need to pay someone. Right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go to the order book. This is the order book for euros. This is the order book for dollars. As you can see, there's 13 live offers at the moment, and I'm going to sell Bitcoin. So I want to sell Bitcoin. I could take one of the offers that's already there. You can see the seller, US money order, Venmo, Chase Quick Pay, but I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to be a market maker or a maker in general. Create new offer to sell BTC for USD, right? So I'm going to pick my payment method, which is Cash App. I'm going to set the amount. I'm going to do a tiny order, and I'm going to set the distance from the market. You can also set the price if you prefer. Yeah, that's annoying. There you go. So that's about $10. Yeah,
Felix,
go.
I'll just say a quick word about some of these fields. Since the first time that people see distance from market price, that's an uncommon feature. In fact, it may be unique to Bisq. I'm not sure. What that means is when you're creating an offer like Felix's to sell Bitcoin on Bisq, that offer is going to take some amount of time to get taken. When you use centralized exchange platforms, not just in Bitcoin, but in foreign exchange trading and so on, usually you're dealing with so-called automatic order matching based order books, where you put in an order and it's just fulfilled instantly for you. But on Bisq, what you're doing is you're placing an offer to trade and you're waiting for another actual individual person to take it. So that may take a few minutes, it may take a few hours, or it may take a few days. So what we allow people to do is specify some distance from the market price. So the market price right now, as you can see in Felix's client, is $10,200 and change for USD to Bitcoin, right? So when he says, I'm going to set the distance from market price to -2%, or maybe he makes it +1%, what he's saying is, I want my offer to sell to be a little bit above that price, whatever the price is, right? Bitcoin's price is fluctuating over time. So if it goes down to 9,500 or up to 11,000, Felix's offer is going to float 1% above whatever that market price is. And this is a way of incentivizing people to use Bisq, right? Because if you're a market maker or you're just somebody who has Bitcoin to sell, it takes a little while. Well, it's nice to know that you can make a little bit of margin, right? And when you look at Bisq's offer book, you'll see that. You'll see a variety of distances from market price. So some people are right at market price, just 0%. Some people put in fixed offers that are not floating at all. And other people will put things in at 2% or 5% or even 8 or 9%. And those offers do get taken very often. So that's an interesting feature, part of Bisq. It's really worth understanding how it works. And I just wanted to say a little bit about it.
And you can also, of course, just set the price you want to sell at. Since I'm going to be selling $10, I'm going to be very simple. And I'm going to say one Bitcoin is $10,000. I want $10. And the other feature, which is worth mentioning, the other field is the security deposit. Bisq is anonymous. There is no reputation system. There is no information on the sellers. There is no name or nick for the sellers. So the main security feature, which stops fraud and scams and all kinds of problems, is a security deposit in Bitcoin that gets blocked with the funds that are to be sold, and that both the buyer and the seller have to place. So that and this security deposit is recovered once the trade is complete But if there is some issue, if someone doesn't pay, this security deposit will be controlled by the arbitrator. Well, in a two or three multi-sig transaction, in which the arbitrator has the third signature and can release the funds according to who was right and who was wrong in completing the trade. Right, so I'm gonna click on next step. I've set the amount. You can see it's $10 or 0.001 Bitcoin. I've set the security deposit. I'm going to click on next step. Yes, use my value. I normally recommend doing the security deposit around 10% of the trade's value. It's enough of a deterrent, but you can set it at whatever you want. And this is important information. Here you can see that you will need to fund your offer. Why? Because I'm selling Bitcoins and I don't have any Bitcoins on my Bisq client at the moment. So I'm going to fund it from an external wallet. You can use your Bisq client, which you fully control, as your wallet, or you can use some other wallet. In this case, you can see the amounts again. The trade amount is 1 millibit. The security deposit is 3 millibits. So in this case, because the amount is so small, it's 300% of the trade amount. Normally, it'd be about 10%, although you can sell it. The trading fee, there's two types of trading fee. There's the minimum anti-spam trading fee that is placed by Bisq, and then there's the mining fee to make sure your transaction gets recorded on the blockchain. Anything else you want to add about that, Chris?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So we can't let it go by without saying that trading fee of just 0.00005. That's a Bitcoin. That's 5,000 satoshis. It's a very, very, very low amount to pay in a trading fee, right? If you're going to virtually any other trading platform, centralized or otherwise, you'll see something on the order of say 0.2% of volume, or a quarter of a percent of the volume of the trade is what will be paid on both sides, say on Bitstamp. Here, that if you look at the current market price, 5,000 satoshis or 0.0005 Bitcoin is about 50 cents worth of Bitcoin right now. And that's not an accident. We just reduced the trading fees, Bisq's trading fees, by 75%. In version 0.6.6. So previously it would have been about 0.0002. It would have been about 4 times that much, right? Now it's 75% less than that. So this is a great time to take advantage of that. And also because we have low mining fees on the Bitcoin network right now, you also see a low mining fee. So it's just extremely cheap, basically, to trade on Bisq at the moment.
Right. So now I'm going to fund the trade, and I'm going to do it from an external wallet. In this case, I'm going to use blockchain.info on my phone, and which shows you that and there I've just sent the transaction, and in about 5 seconds, I should get a little pop-up saying the trade. There you go. Trading wallet update. Your trading wallet is sufficiently funded. This trade is now funded. Okay, so you don't actually have to keep any Bitcoin on your Bisq client at all. This is what we mean by decentralized non-custodial exchange. The Bisq is an app. Bisq does not hold your funds, fiat or Bitcoin or anything. You don't even have to keep them on the Bisq wallet, although if you wanted to, you fully control the private keys on the Bisq wallet. So I'm going to review this offer. You can see everything here again, the amount to receive, the price. Yeah, $10 minus the fee, which as you can see is a tiny amount. My trading account, Felix1, which is the Cash App trading account, and I'm going to confirm that I want to place this offer. This will actually create, when my offer is accepted, there will actually be a transaction on the blockchain. So now I will go to my portfolio, open offers, and you will see this is the offer. And it will now appear on the order book if we remember. So I am selling Bitcoin, so you should be able to see it here. There you go. See, that's my offer on the order book with Cash App. And now we can go over to Chris's screen where he can take the offer. I'll stop sharing my screen
now. Okay. So I'll share my screen again. And we're looking at my Bisq app. And so let's see. Again, I want to buy Bitcoin, and hopefully I'm going to buy Felix's Bitcoin before somebody snatches it up. That's a nice price. And let's see. So you can see that some of these are grayed out, right? I don't have access. I can't click on this button, right? Because in this demo app version of Bisq, I don't have OK Pay or Uphold or Chase Quick Pay accounts set up. If I had access to those payment methods, then I could configure my Bisq client just like Felix did his with Cash App, and those would become available to me. So the question when you're using Bisq is, of course, what do you want to trade, Bitcoin for US dollars? But the second question, very important, is what payment methods do I have access to? And that's another big part of version 066, as some of you may have seen, is that we shipped no less than 7 new payment methods in 066, including Cash App, Venmo, which is very, very popular in the United States, Uphold, Moneybeam, which is one here in Europe and Germany, and several others. Pop Money, which is integrated with many banks in the US. Many credit unions in the US use Pop Money. Many small banks use Pop Money. So check that out. You may not even know it, and you may have access to Pop Money. So take a look. Okay, were you going to say something, Felix?
Yeah, take my offer before someone else
before somebody does, right? Yeah. Okay, good. So let's do it. I want to buy that Bitcoin. So check to see if offer is available. You can see it right now. My client is communicating over Bisq's network, talking to Felix's client, saying, yes, the offer is actually still available. So do I want to take it? Yes, I do. Next step. All right. So again, like Felix explained, we both have to pay a security deposit. That's what that pop-up is telling me. We've already walked through the reasons for that. So I'll just click I understand. And now just again, like Felix did, I need to fund my trade. I need to deposit some amount of Bitcoin to take this offer. So I want to pause here and say, does that make any sense? I want to buy Bitcoin, but Bisq is telling me that I need to put some Bitcoin into Bisq in order to buy Felix's Bitcoin. This is not an accident. This is actually how it's designed. Everybody has to pay a security deposit. That's a critical part of the security of the overall Bisq system. It's a critical part of the game theory of the Bisq system, right? And it really works. Bisq has been running for years now with virtually no incidents, virtually no even shadow of fraud. And those security deposits have a lot to do with it. So yes, I'm going to have a little bit of Bitcoin. So if you're somebody who's brand new to Bitcoin and you don't have a Satoshi to your name, you have to get a little bit before you can use Bisq. And the best way to do that is you have friends, you have family, you know somebody, and you get from them that very small security deposit that Felix just had to pay and that I'm going to have to pay here. Okay, so how much is it going to be? 0.005 Bitcoin. Well, that's about $5 worth of Bitcoin. So one of the ways that you can participate in this Liquidity Week effort is you have friends, you have family that you've been talking to about Bitcoin, you've been talking to about Bisq. Well, offer to loan them some Bitcoin so that they can do their first trade, and maybe you do their first trade with them. Okay, so yes, I'm ready to do that. I'm going to now, Felix, when he did it, right, he clicked on the QR code and he said, I'm going to transfer this from some other Bitcoin wallet that I have. Another option that you have is to transfer funds from your Bisq wallet. So like Felix said, Bisq is a complete Bitcoin wallet and client. So if I look in here real quick and I look at my funds tab, yeah, I have, it so happens that I already funded this prior to the demo tonight. So I have enough Bitcoin already sitting there to where I can just go back in and click this convenient button that just says, yeah, fund this trade from my Bisq wallet. And voila, that's instantly done. All right, so one last review. Yep, I'm buying $10 worth of Bitcoin. I'm going to use Cash App to settle it. Security deposits on both sides. Okay, confirm. And again, take offer in progress. So this is me communicating directly with Felix's client, not just over the Bisq network, but over Bisq's underlying transport layer, which is the Tor network, right?
And it's done.
Great.
I'm going to share my screen for a second just so you see the pop-up I just got
Yeah.
that my offer was taken. So let me share my screen. My Bisq client, can you see my Bisq client? Yes. Right, so I just got a notification for trade. Your offer has been accepted. Go to portfolio and you will see that this offer for 10 bucks BTC via Cash App has been taken. And now we have to wait for the blockchain confirmation. You can go over that if you want, Chris.
Cool. Yeah, and on my side, if we're looking back at my screen now, which I think everybody can, so I've successfully taken an offer. So I'm now going to click on this button. It's going to take me basically to the same view that Felix was just showing, but of course my view on it as the buyer. And this was the trade, right? So let's see. I can click a button here, right? And I can jump right to a blockchain explorer. We'll do that in a second, just to take a look at the transaction itself. But of course, right now we're waiting for a blockchain confirmation to happen, right? So this is all, Bisq is deeply integrated with Bitcoin. It's all on-chain transactions that are happening here. So, this may take 1 minute, this may take 9 minutes. I don't know when the last block was. We can have a look.
The last block was 5 minutes ago, 4 and a bit. So,
Okay.
On average, it should take about 5 minutes.
Yeah. So if we're lucky, it'll happen soon, and we'll see that happen when it does. But in the meantime, let's just jump out and take a look at that transaction itself. Drag this into my screen. Yeah. So you can see that we spent into, starting with a 3 there, right? That looks like a multi-signature address, and it is, right? So right there contains, in that 0.04564 Bitcoin, that's the Bitcoin being traded. That's Felix's 0.001 Bitcoin, right? His security deposit and my security deposit. That's all sitting in that address, locked away in like Felix said, in a 2 of 3 multi-sig. So of course, I have 1 key to that address as the buyer. He has 1 key as the seller, and the arbitrator, should we need them, by default, the arbitrator won't have anything to do, can't see any of this data, has no awareness of this transaction essentially. But if something goes wrong with this trade, then we can open a ticket, we can open a dispute, and we can work with that arbitrator. And that arbitrator has the 3rd key that can decide, should the buyer get the payout, should the seller get the payout, etc. Okay, so there we are, still unconfirmed.
We just got a block confirmed.
Okay.
So let's see if we're lucky.
Let's refresh.
Let's see if the fee estimation is good enough.
Oh no, it doesn't look like it. So what did we spend on fees here? We spent spent 16 Satoshis per byte, which is probably pretty low at the moment. We, as many people I'm sure on the call will know, we've been enjoying in Bitcoin land extremely low mining fees because the Bitcoin mempool has been essentially empty, bottoming out now for weeks. But as the demo gods would have it, we saw a spike in the mempool, in a rising spike happening over just the last couple of hours. So, this is just a useful little sidebar here as we wait for the next block, and we can talk through a couple of other things, other features and so on while we wait. But just to explain what's going on there, when you make a trade, whenever you're transacting with Bisq, we're always talking to a fee estimation service. And that fee estimation service was telling us that the appropriate amount to spend on a transaction was 20 Satoshis per byte, or looks like we ended up spending about 16 Satoshis per byte. And it looks like that was a little low. So hopefully we'll make it in the next block, right? If this spike went crazy and we saw, one block after another going up, and it might take a long time for that transaction to confirm. But in general, this process works very smoothly. In general, you see a confirmation within just a block or two. Fingers crossed. Let's see what happens.
In the meantime, we can explain how arbitration works.
Yeah, that'd be great. So, so the first thing to say actually is that I'm an arbitrator. I'm one of Bisq's arbitrators as a co-founder. That's something that the co-founders have taken on since the beginning as being arbitrators. So here, this is a demo client, and so you can't really see any open tickets. But what happens is, let's go back to our portfolio and see if something happens along the way, something adverse happens. Like, let's say we get through the blockchain confirmation, and now we want to move through the rest of Bisq's trading protocol. So first of all, before we get into arbitration, let's just talk about what we expect. What's the happy path that we expect to happen with this trade? Our deposit transaction gets confirmed. Then we start payment, right? So what does that mean? Start payment. That means that I'm going to go into my Cash App, right? So I'm sitting here looking at cash.me, right? For people who know Cash App, you may know this interface, or lots of people use it via mobile, right? But as you can see, Felix and I have been doing tests of this demo previously. And once we've got a blockchain confirmation, Bisq is going to tell me, okay, go pay the seller. Buyer, go send your money to the seller. And I would do that. I would create a new transaction, and I would send $10 to Flix1, right? And hopefully we'll see doing that in a moment. When I do that, because that's not integrated in any deep way with Bisq. Bisq doesn't have any APIs into Cash App or any other payment method. It's absolutely out of band, and that's totally by design, right? Bisq isn't asking for permission to use these systems. Bisq is relying on you, an individual, your access to payment methods and your ability to use these systems, and it's just instructing you what to do. So there's no interaction with Bisq here. That means that when we come back to Bisq, after I make that payment via Cash App to Felix, I'm going to have to come back here, and I'm going to have to click a button in Bisq that says payment sent, right? And then Felix is going to recognize the payment on his side. He'll click payment received. And when he does that, we'll unlock the funds, we'll sign out the multi-sig transaction, and Felix's Bitcoin will be released to me. My security deposit, his security deposit will be released back, and voila, completed.
It might be worth mentioning that there is a time limit on that. Could you explain the reason?
Exactly. So when we see maximum allowed trade period, 1 day, well, different payment methods have different, what we call trading windows. With something like Cash App, it's essentially an instant transfer. So it should take really no more time than just logging into Cash App and sending the payment for Felix to get it. That's why we make it 1 day. It should be possible to settle that trade in well less than 1 day. But if something goes wrong, right? Like, let's say I'm just a negligent buyer and or I'm forgetful or something like that, and I don't send my payment to Felix. I get distracted or whatever. And there's Felix wondering, where's my payment? Well, we'd soon see after 24 hours that a red bar would show up here saying, okay, the trading window has been exceeded. Would you like to open a ticket about this? Would you like to open a dispute about this trade? And Felix would have a choice to do that. He could wait a little bit longer, or he could click the button that says open a dispute. And when he does that, if he does that, the trade would go, as we say, to arbitration. And there would be a ticket here in the support view. And at that point, Felix would be interacting with an arbitrator, the arbitrator that was chosen at the beginning of this trade. And we can talk about how that happens. But Felix would be having a chat with the arbitrator. And the arbitrator would also simultaneously, in a separate chat window, a private separate chat window, would be reaching out to me, the buyer, and the arbitrator would be asking me, hey, what happened? Can you explain why you didn't make your payments, or have you made your payments, right? We'd be getting stories from both sides, building up an understanding of what happened, and of course, in the end, releasing the funds as appropriate. And as an arbitrator, somebody who's done, you know, hundreds of these cases, I can proudly report they're virtually always a simple misunderstanding, a simple human error, something coming up where somebody couldn't get access to their computer for a few days. Like I said before, there's just virtually not a shred of fraud or bad actors trying to cause havoc on Bisq. Yeah.
Yeah, but in any case, this is the way it works right now because, you know, it's a very small community and everyone's very committed to Bisq working out. But the idea is for it to be trustless so that when it grows, when there are thousands of users, and with those thousands of users, inevitably a couple of scammers, there is a way to resolve disputes. So 99.9% of trades should not go to arbitration if the system is designed correctly and if everyone knows what they're doing. But for the tiny amount of cases that do go to arbitration, the conditions are very, very simple, right? The contract that you sign when you're creating offer or you take an offer is very straightforward, and it's normally very clear who's in the wrong, who has paid in time, who hasn't. So there shouldn't be a need for goodwill beyond the, you know, you should be able to use Bisq in an adversarial system in a place where you don't trust your counterparty, you don't necessarily have to trust Bisq for your funds, etc. And also, Chris has explained before, you will be able to choose your arbitrators. They obviously not anyone, but there will be a number of arbitrators to choose from as Bisq grows.
Yeah, we can see that. Since we're still waiting for our block to confirm, let's have a quick look. So there's settings and account over here on the right in Bisq. Let's look at account, where we can see arbitrator selection. And currently in Bisq, we have 2 arbitrators, right? So again, it's a very high trust situation. Like these arbitrators are people who, you know, we trust a lot. Myself, right? I'm a co-founder, et cetera. And like Felix mentioned, that number will grow as we continue to grow the Bisq and the Bisq DAO and so on. But what Felix was just saying is choosing your arbitrators. By default, you accept all arbitrators on Bisq. That's what that checkbox is about. But what's very interesting is that there is the possibility of opting out, right? You can say, you know what, I worked with this arbitrator before, don't like him, didn't like his style, whatever. And you say, for future trades, I don't want to work with that arbitrator again. Of course, you have to select at least one, right? But this idea of whitelisting or blacklisting arbitrators is all about putting control in the hands of the users. So even arbitrators are, subject to incentives and disincentives in Bisq, right? If we're not behaving well, we're going to be censured by the users, essentially. So yeah. Let's see. Shall we talk about some of the other payment methods and so on that we added?
For sure, I'd love to.
Okay, Chris, there's a question. If you could talk about the fee estimation algorithm or how the fees are estimated in general.
Yes, yeah. So let's go back to that just so we have some context. So withdrawal transaction fee institutions provide. So where is that number coming from? Is essentially the question. This value that you're looking at, just so that nobody's confused, here in settings, this is actually what it says, the amount that you're going to pay when you withdraw funds from your Bisq wallet. So forget about trades for a second. If I just got Felix's Bitcoin and I now want to transfer that to my Trezor or some other wallet, I'm going to need to send that money in just a normal Bitcoin transaction out of Bisq, withdraw it, so to speak. So how much am I going to pay to do that? Well, this setting is about either taking what Bisq provides to me, which is currently 20 Satoshis per byte, or I could use some custom value. And I could say, I want to prioritize that thing, make it 100, or I want to lowball it, make it 5 Satoshis, or what have you. This value, though, you can't specify the value for your trades. So you can't actually alter, and say, hey, I want my trading transactions, my maker transaction taker transaction deposit transaction, as we call them in Bisq. You can't set that yourself. That's specified to you by Bisq. And to answer the question, where is that information coming from? That's ultimately coming from a fee estimation provider. We currently use Bitcoin fees. .earn.com, or it used to be bitcoinfees.21.com. Maybe many people will know that. That's been a useful service for us. It's not always been an accurate service for us. We may be in the middle of dealing with some inaccuracy or a less than great prediction. A little hard to pin the blame just at the moment, but ultimately we're using a third-party service there. But it's really worth saying that that your Bisq client is not talking directly to bitcoinfees.earn.com. Your Bisq client is talking to your Bisq client. All Bisq clients are hidden services on the Tor network. So if you're running Bisq, you're running a Tor hidden service. Our what we call price nodes are also Tor hidden services, and we have 5 of those deployed around the world that are run by independent people and under separate control, right? Your Bisq client knows about all 5 of those price nodes, and you can specify your own price nodes. You can run your own price node, for example. But those price nodes, they proxy to Bitcoin fees, right? Get the information, bundle it up, and then relay it to your Bisq client. So the reason that we do that, there's a few reasons, but one of the reasons is so that your Bisq client always remains within the Tor network. You're never hitting an exit node from your Bisq client. And while we're there, so for any developers that are watching, and I'm sure there are plenty, we're very interested in Felix Weiss's new What the Fee service that he just released. This is a mempool-based fee estimation service, and as you can see, right, it's telling us that it looks like fees really are climbing. It's currently pretty much across the board about 25 satoshis per byte to get into the next block, and we had a 16 satoshi per byte trade. So we might be waiting a little bit, right? So what would be nice, and we actually have an issue open for this, is to swap out to create an alternative implementation of what we call a mining fee rate provider for What the Fee. There's an API there, so if you're interested in claiming a bounty under the Bisq DAO and getting paid some BSQ, our token under the Bisq DAO, to do that, you can go for it. We can follow up about that later. Hopefully that answers that question.
Are there any other questions, Christoph?
No, there was one question, but we answered it already in the chat. It was Litwin 9080 asking how we prevent IRS agents for phishing for trades to ID you, so they identify you and then all your trades.
I guess at least it's not free for them, is it?
Yeah, but it's a very important point. So here's the thing. Bisq is designed for privacy, right? Bisq is designed, often easy to say, for to be trustless, right? But there's no such thing as trustlessness, really, right? There's always some degree of trust that you put somewhere or in someone. And so the better thing to talk about is about trust minimization. So just strictly, technically speaking, Bisq is about trust minimization and achieving the highest levels of privacy possible. So at the end of the day, if you're going to trade on Bisq, you're going to expose personally identifying information, even if it's just like a string that's your one account number or something like that. You're going to expose that information to one trading part, to your counterparty, essentially, who you decide whether or not to trade with that person, right? But that person will have enough information about you to complete that trade. So this means that it's in principle possible for somebody to be, taking all of the trades on Bisq and collecting information, but it's like Felix says, unlikely, or it's a bit economically, infeasible to do that because they literally have to take every trade. Nobody can just snoop on the network. So something that we've always said about Bisq is, look, if transacting Bitcoin is illegal in your jurisdiction, Bisq is not a magic wand, right? You have to be aware that on the other side of that trade could be an agent. Now, the question is about the IRS. That's not about the illegality. That's about somehow collecting information and coming back and biting you with it later. So it's absolutely possible. The person on the other side could be an IRS agent. What you have to game out in your own mind is that a likely attack vector for the IRS?
Plus also the difference in difficulty is tremendous, because if you're a centralized exchange, it just takes one subpoena to get thousands and thousands of personal information, or just one hack or one leak to get personal information from thousands of users. Whereas in Bisq, you would have to go one by one with each trade. So in theory, it's not impossible, of course. Nothing is perfectly safe, but the difficulty level of acquiring and mining information, private information from Bisq, is much, much higher. It's got a very big anti-spam feature, and yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I'd love to talk much more about that. That's a very interesting topic for me. It's a topic we care a lot about. I think maybe we'll move on to another question, or another topic, just to not go too deep on that.
I'd like to talk a bit about the different payment methods, because it's I think it's quite interesting to discuss all the new options that are available. I'm sharing my screen.
Just to interrupt, or you can do it afterwards. There's one more question by Blush on the SegWit support within Bisq, but you can keep it for later.
Yeah, I knew that one was coming. Right, so the first, just to very briefly mention, so the biggest, most successful market on Bisq right now, which you can see all the markets here, all the spreads, is euros. And by far, if you want to buy or sell Bitcoins for euros, by far the most popular method is SEPA transfers, so SEPA bank transfers. Almost every single trade is made using those, and that's been working quite well, even though there are other options for euros, but most people are happy to use this, and we haven't encountered any problems with chargebacks or fraud or anything like that so far. For dollars, it's been more difficult because there's more risk of chargeback. So that's why we're testing a number of different payment methods. Seller has already been in use for quite a while and quite successfully. There's been many trades done with Seller, a handful with US money orders or cash deposits, and with Chase Quick Pay. And the new payment methods that are now available are so this OK Pay is always being around, although it doesn't seem to be used by many people. Uphold. There's let me go to, here you go, account, add an account. Here you go. You can see there's Moneybeam, which is a German bank, the app of a German bank, N26. But for the US, there's Pop Money, which there's also Revolut, which is sort of a European payment app, but it happens to have dollars and it works all over the world. There's Transfer with the same bank. Is that, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, is Transfer with the same bank available in the US at the moment, Chris?
It is now. Yeah, we
is
had,
now, right?
Yeah, that's one of the ones that we re-enabled in DO66, so ACH.
Right.
Yeah, it's basically the same like national bank transfers. We have two extra methods, which is transfer with the same bank. That's usually much faster and lower fees, or transfer with specific bank, because some banks have special deals with other banks, and for this they have faster and cheaper transfers. But they're basically the same like national bank transfer, just with the addition that you can define that you only want to trade with either the same bank or with a set of specified banks.
Right. So we don't know which of these payment methods is going to be the most successful in the US. We are at a very experimental stage. Maybe Venmo will take off, or maybe because it's got some lower limits, people would rather use natural bank transfer or will continue to use seller. But just so everyone knows that there's a number of different payment methods available that you can test. Doesn't cost much to do a couple of small trades for $10 and test it and see how it works. And we highly encourage you to try it. We've also got a number of other currencies. Pounds have been doing really well with UK faster payments, which are instant bank transfers between UK banks. Those have been doing quite well. As you can see, there's quite a few orders for those. And if we actually look at the number of trades, you'll see there's been quite a few. I mean, Bisq has been running for a while. There's been quite a few trades done in euros. There's a number of them every day, still growing, and most of them are SEPA. If we look at dollars, you'll see that seller is the most popular at the moment, but there's a few done with Cash App, and there's been a few done with US money orders and other. Yeah, most of them are seller. Seller has been Chase Quick Pay pops up from time to time, and there's a few of those. There's also been quite a few. Well, here you go. For pounds, it's mostly faster payments. A few national bank transfers, but mostly faster payments. For Swedish krona, Swish has been quite popular. but because we can't focus on everything at the moment, we're concentrated. Our focus is now on kicking off US dollars. If that works, if pounds, dollars, and euros work well, all the rest will come. Of course, we'd love to see China taking off, or Nigeria, or any other country where Bisq would be especially useful. But yeah, so yeah, anyone who can help with US dollar liquidity week, very, very welcome. Back to you, Chris.
Cool. Okay, so go ahead.
There's one question regarding payment methods and banks. If we have heard of users using Bisq that their bank accounts were shut down, especially for SEPA trades in Europe, if we have experience or if we know something about that.
So we directly never got the message that a Bisq user got shut down a bank account. But yeah, when you look in Reddit or in local Bitcoin forums or so, you can read it that sometimes it happens that I think it happens mostly when users are trading really a lot, when they're trading more like $10,000 a month, then probably the bank will look closer to it if there is a business behind, or if it's still really a private account, or when people are using Bitcoin in the reference text field. So in the reason for payment text field, that's why we in Bisq, it's not allowed when you're doing the bank transfer that you use Bitcoin or Bisq or BTC in the reference text, because some banks are very hostile with Bitcoin and then make problems to the other user.
Yeah, it's something that you have to watch out for in general is what are your limits with whatever the payment method involved is. So for something like Cash App, you often see that there will be $250 per week you can spend, and then you have to verify your account, and then it goes up to say 2,000. You really have to check the specifics, and so that's something that can come up. Is you're trading and then oops, you go over your limit, and all of a sudden now you're not able to complete the trade with your counterparty. You as the buyer are not able to pay the seller, right? And then you blow the trading window like we talked about earlier.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Chris, we said 1 hour and we've only got 5 minutes left. Rather than to keep everyone waiting for the confirmation, I think we should promise to do another call tomorrow or on Wednesday and do the rest, complete the trade. I know it's less than optimal, but well, demo effect.
I think so too. Yeah, because I've just been looking through just looking at the stats while we were talking, answering other questions, and it's pretty clear to me that that this deposit transaction at 16 satoshis per byte is not going to clear. We just had another block clear, and it didn't go. So this is unfortunate. This does happen from time to time, right? And the thing that people should know walking away from this is that transaction will clear. And as you may have noticed, right, the clock hasn't started yet in Bisq. That trading window clock of 1 day, it has not started yet. It starts when your deposit transaction confirms. So every once in a while, you got to sit tight. And that's what Felix and I will do, and we'll complete that trade. And I agree, we should do another one soon.
It's very rare for this to happen, to be honest. We've done quite a few test trades in the past, over the past week and a half, and every one of them cleared in minutes. So
unfortunately, we got the really bad timing, because just today the mempool got filled very quickly, and the fee estimation, we did set the fee estimation rather low, because we didn't want to overpay all the time. But in that case, at the moment, the fee would be okay, but in 5 minutes later, it is not okay, and it's growing and growing, and so you're lagging back. So with such dynamics, so the current fee estimation service from earn.com, what we're using, is not really dealing well, and any developer who has experience with fee estimation, or Felix Weiss maybe with his new service, would be invited to help us to replace earn.com with a better fee estimation service.
I actually covered that earlier and invited everybody to come take a look at it. It's just one last note on that. I explained how our price nodes work and so on. One of the reasons that we have them in the middle there is not just so that you're not exiting the Tor network, like I explained, but also so that we can tweak those fee estimations if we need to, right? We can kind of bump them up a little bit for everybody on the network. And that's probably what we'll go do if we see this trend continues. We might bump those up just a little bit so that other people don't get stuck in the same situation that Felix and I just did. Before we go, though, as we approach the hour, we should talk specifically about what you can do during USD Liquidity Week and what it means to be a market maker. Felix, do you want to just cover that again?
Yeah, just very briefly. It's on GitHub. You can see the GitHub issue for USD Liquidity Week. We'll also post it on Slack and on Twitter and so on. But basically, just download the Bisq app and place a couple of orders. There's a small, insignificant, but symbolic bounty for anyone who helps out and participates in this. And all you need to do to claim the bounty is place a couple of offers on the Bisq USD order book during this week. So that when anyone who wants to use Bisq, but last time they logged in, there weren't many orders there to take, there wasn't much to do, they will see activity, they will see people there, and it will start to gather steam. Just download the Bisq client, create an account, a payment method, as I showed you earlier, and create an offer to buy or sell Bitcoin.
Yeah, and what we'd like to see is this when we're looking here at the offer book, we see there's plenty of euro offers out there, 25 euro offers out there at the moment. Right now, there's 14 US dollar ones. What we'd really like to see is US dollars offers get up to par with euros this week, right? Have a steady supply in the offer book of say 20 or more BTC USD offers. So if you keep even one offer open all week, right, it gets taken, and then you put another one up. It gets taken, and you put another one up. If you keep one buy, one sell offer open, even better, right? And if you do that and you want to let us know, great. You don't have to let us know. You can just do that, and we'll
but your feedback is also very welcome. So feel happy to give feedback about what could be improved, or what your experience was with a particular payment method on Slack, on any channel will do, Reddit, Twitter, whatever. Feedback will be very useful.
Yeah, we'll put links in the show notes here on YouTube, so you can just refresh in a few minutes and you can see Slack links and links to GitHub and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a great to mention, because we have a couple of open questions we might not be able to answer on this call. Please join us on Slack, and we'll take it from there. Also, because people asked how they can support Bisq and the community itself. So I guess Slack would be a great place to start.
Great, guys. Thanks everybody for coming, and we'll do another one of these, and we'll have it go real smooth when we do. Cheers.
Okay, bye.